Do you feel like you're failing your children when it comes to use of social media and smartphones? You're not alone. I feel exactly the same way. Although I'm child psychiatrist, my name is Ruben Gagarin. I work a lot with the kids with severe mental illness and their families, and at every single family meeting we end up talking about social media and problematic smartphone use. I know it is on top of the minds of a lot of parents, because if you search YouTube for a good advice, you'll see millions of videos on brilliant ideas how to control your children's use of cell phones. And yet, although every parent knows what to do, for some reason, I'm yet to see even single family that actually sticks to the advice and use it consistently. For example, in my family, I tried to control use of cell phones for my kids and actually got very good result. We blocked the cell phone use from Monday through Friday. The kids had a lot of other activities, and then they could use as much as they wanted over the weekend. How long did we last? Well, maybe 3 months, maximum a semester. I don't quite remember. But I remember we had good result. They were positive. They were more interactive. And why did we stop? Well, summer came. We kind of loosened our rules. And of course, the next year, we never picked up. The challenge is, of course, you are not a bad parent. Maybe, I hope I'm not a bad parent. But why don't we do the right thing for our kids? Well, it is actually pretty complicated and also simple at the same time. It is not our parents' fault that our kids use the cell phones as a main tool of communication. So you take it away, what are they supposed to do? How are they supposed to communicate with their friends? So they use Snapchat and other chatting apps to talk to their friends. They sometimes do schoolwork together instead of going to each other's houses. I would prefer that, but they connect on a video call, and they have a few laughs about math and their teachers. So if I take it away, my kids would probably feel lonely and isolated. It is not customary anymore for kids to go to each other's houses and work on their school projects. Now, another problem is boredom. All the entertainment these days on the cell phones. There is Netflix, there is TikTok, Instagram, etc., etc. So almost everything is on the cell phone. And why do you think kids play so many video games and spend so much time on social media? Of course, we all know that cell phones are addictive. You probably have seen videos on YouTube about great rewiring of our brain. Although it's not permanent, of course it can change. We can talk about that later. But we get sort of addicted because we like it. So then we get a little bit anxious when it's taken away from us, but it is also a great escape for the younger generation. They do not use as much drugs and alcohol, thanks God, so the statistics show they actually drink less. Excellent. They know more about healthy lifestyle than we did. I know that my 12-year-old knows more about healthy lifestyle than I did when I graduated medical school. In any case, but they feel so much pressure and anxiety that they need escape. So some people play video games, mostly boys, but now it's getting more even. And some other kids, they spend more time on social media because they want to escape their reality. Why? Because imagine yourself being a, 14, 13-year-old. You just started realizing how complex the world is, and then your parents tell you that you should become an engineer or a lawyer. And then you go on ChatGPT and you realize that as of 2025, ChatGPT knows a lot of laws and engineering formulas. So you project it 10 years later, and then you realize by the time you graduate university, you may not have a job as a lawyer or engineer. So on top of that, there is insecurity about housing. The house prices go up in the US, in UK, in Australia, in Canada, and a lot of places in the world. In Spain, Portugal, almost everywhere, the price on housing goes up. So you see that there is no safe profession that guarantee housing and happy families. So, and they see that their parents, we, can't really guide them because we also don't know what's going to happen in the future. That is the first time in human history that parents actually have little clue where it is all going. And then look at the politics. There is this great divide. People do not understand each other. One group believes in one thing, and another group believes in something completely different, and they cannot reconcile because they're so opposite. So the problem becomes that if you take it away, the cell phones and the social media, what are the kids going to do? What are they going to do? How are they going to escape this reality? Are they going to turn to drugs? So you know that there is a spike in use of opiates like fentanyl. Why? Because it's a very strong drug and people want to escape, so they turn to drugs. It is not just because it is available, it is also because users want to use it to escape their reality. Now, some countries, some politicians in countries like Australia, for example, they want to appease their electorate, and they make a law to ban social media for kids under 16. I have a few questions about that. There's a lot of talk about that in Canada as well and some other places. Well, question one, why 16? Why not 12 or 18 or 25? I mean, our brains keep developing throughout our lives. So 16 sounds like pretty arbitrary number. So two, why are we blocking social media and not blocking video games? For example, in International Classification of Mental Illness, there is actually illness that internet gaming use. But we're not banning video games. Why not? And then how it's gonna actually happen? Well, of course they can ban the major, they can pressure the major social media companies like TikTok. It's not so easy to pressure them, but so they can pressure TikTok and Instagram and other major companies. But have you heard about Discord? Well, I recently learned that Discord is another social kind of media website. Well, I knew about Discord before, but what I learned recently is that it actually housed in different servers, and those servers are private and they're very small. I can start a server, you can start a server, and then we can bind our small group. And on one hand, you can say, well, it's great because it's small groups and people bind together because they know each other. But it also becomes a great echo chamber where you can't escape ideology of your friends because you don't get exposed to anything else at all. So it's not just the algorithm, you just don't even have an algorithm to offer you any options completely. So banning it outright may become difficult technically. And then, let's say we banned it. So I have a 12-year-old. What is she supposed to do? Do I hope that then all the 12-year-olds, if they don't have access to the internet or cell phones, gonna run outside and play? So they're gonna pretend to be, princesses and so on? Or would they rather, again, play some video games on their computers, on Windows computers, etc.? And of course, me being a physician, I have some means. Of course, I can sign my kids up for activities like music, sports. But you know what? I recently signed up one of my kids for martial arts, and it's like $2,000 a year. So I know that in the past we went to like soccer. My kids were signed up for soccer. They tried tennis, and every single activity cost thousands of dollars a year. Now, in Toronto, we actually have subsidized programs. The sign-up starts about 4 times a year. And you know what? You need to actually be on their website within 15 minutes. Otherwise, all desirable programs are gone. And it's not like they're amazing quality. They kind of average, they're okay. But what happens is that poor parents, we tried it. So poor parents wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning. They set up their computer so they can log in at exactly 7 a.m. when the sign-up starts. And considering it is probably hundreds of thousands of parents trying to log in on the same website, it gets overwhelmed. You cannot log in. And by 7:15 or 7:30, when you finally log into the website, all the desirable programs are gone. So it is actually not really workable solution to just ban the social media outright. So do not feel bad that you're a bad parent. See, it is complicated. It's not so easy. Now, let's talk about potential solutions. I said this video is not an advice, but I have some ideas. In our family meetings, I try to be creative. I try to encourage my patients to be creative. I encourage dialogue between kids and their parents. I actually ask kids what do they want to do? What do they think is reasonable? Try that. You may be surprised. So you may imagine they are resisting, but most kids actually understand that it is a problem. There is a great book called Anxious Generation, and the author actually asked a lot of Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and all of them kind of knew that the use of internet and social media excessively may be a problem. So important thing is to communicate, to talk to your kids and ask them. They may actually have very good ideas. So the simplest starting point could be built-in parental controls. Now, it is not perfect. About over 30% of kids figure out how to circumvent those controls, but that would be next steps, a step down the road. In the meantime, for my kids, they use Android phones. There is a family link. And what happens is I set up a schedule so they cannot go online or like play any video games or social media after certain hours at night. It limited, the amount of time per day is limited. But what is the most one of the most important features, I actually don't have to pry the phone out of their hand if I want to ban their cell phone. I just pull my cell phone, I click lock, and they don't have access to their phone. So I don't have to yell at them, I don't have to fight them, and no one is like in physical danger of harming each other. Believe it or not, that has happened too. And also, it is very convenient way. Now, does it work for every kid? No, it wouldn't work for every kid. I see a lot of parents trying to take away video games or the cell phones, and then they end up calling police because their kid gets out of control. They break everything in their house, and the only way parents can help, they call police. They bring the child to our emergency room, and sometimes they get admitted, so they see me in the morning. But on our unit, without access to any technology and with a very correct myself. Not accessing technology is only one thing, but maybe even more importantly, there are very specific, strict rules. So they find themselves in a new environment where cell phones are not part of the routine. So they may argue a little, but almost never we see kids blow up as much as they do at home when they kind of used to their cell phone. So if you think that your child is going to blow up if you take away their phone, then again, step one, communicate. Maybe start changes gradually, explain what you're doing. So that might work. Some kids have developmental conditions like autism spectrum disorder, for example. Those kids tend to get very rigid. They don't do very well with a change of routine. So again, you need to give them plenty of opportunity to prepare and start changing rules gradually. And the rules have to be very clear and straightforward. Like majority of kids, they can deal with sort of gray zone. When you can bend the rules a little bit for them, let's say over the summer, and then when school starts, you kind of, you impose different rules. But if your child cannot do that, then don't give them, don't put them in a gray zone. Just make sure that the rules are always the same, and they have to follow it. Sometimes, actually last week, I heard this argument that kids say, well, my parents cannot take away my cell phone because I bought it for my money. So the kid got the money for Christmas from their grandparents, and they thought they cannot, the parents cannot take away their cell phone. Well, on one hand, you can say it is their property, so they're right. But using an analogy with a car, I can say that we are not taking away the phone, we're actually putting it in impound. So let's say if I'm breaking rules and they're driving too fast, the police would stop me and impound my car. So they're not taking it away from me. They might, but that would be an extreme. But they impound it for a while. It actually could be for a month. And the same, you can use the same language. You can impound the kid's cell phone, so you're not really taking it away from them. You can use another argument saying that although they use their money to pay for a cell phone, but you are paying for the shelter and food and transportation and all the other stuff. So they, unless they contribute, it's all kind of, becomes a very weak argument on their part. So also this week met a family who bought for their kid a cell phone with the e-ink technology. Well, if you I don't see my Kindle around. So, but those ebook readers, they use so-called e-ink. So it's a different technology. The phone is actually very thin and light and very comfortable to use, but it has no color. There is e-ink with a color, but it's not very vibrant, so it's actually doesn't really, it's not as addictive. Try it on your cell phone. Try to make it black and white and see how much less you're going to use your cell phone. I promise you will use it less because it's not so exciting anymore. So look up cell phone with the e-ink technology, electronic ink technology, and see if this is something you would like to consider. Before you start making changes for your kids, you should look at yourself too. As old saying goes, monkeys see, monkeys do. So I countless times I've seen parents talking to their kids and saying, well, you should stop, you shouldn't use your cell phone after school or maybe after 9 p.m. And the kid is saying, well, but you're sitting there till 1 a.m. in the morning on your cell phone. It's hard to talk to you. We all are addicted to cell phones. Not only kids under age of 16, we all are addicted. So, and if I'm addicted to my cell phone and I want my kid to deal with their addiction, but I'm not dealing with my addiction, it's actually very hard to make that argument. Similarly, going back to the ban idea, banning someone until a certain age, you're not supposed to drink alcohol till age of 18, 19, 21, pick your number, it actually sends a wrong message. It sends a message as if alcohol is harmful for younger individuals, like teenagers, and it is not harmful for adults. No, it is harmful for adults. It actually causes cancer. It causes a lot of problems. So the right message would be that I got addicted to alcohol, and you may get addicted to alcohol. Similarly, I got addicted to social media or video games, and you may get addicted too. So I'm trying to protect you while I'm working on my addiction. So you have to lead the way with your own example. And of course, if you tell them, go play outside, and there is nobody outside, and they come back and you're on a cell phone, they can't even spend time with you. So you have to start looking at yourself. Secondly, there is also this anxiety, when you go on social media or turn on TV, then you see a lot of this scary stories. In New York subway, somebody got pushed in front of the train. Horrible. So you hear all of this scary stories about people getting like assaulted or hurt, there are drugs, etc. So most parents, like myself, feel a lot more comfortable with kids sitting in their rooms on their phones. I know the cell phones are harmful, but the streets also may be harmful. And see, it's actually, in my case, I live on a very safe street, like in a safe neighborhood. But some of my patients, they're actually afraid of going outside because, like a couple times a week, they may hear shooting outside. So, and if I was a parent living in that environment, I would be terrified that my kids actually play until the dark. Like in the same book, Anxious Generation, they're talking about kids solving their problems and figuring out how to kind of, live their lives in kind of outside. But, it really depends on the neighborhood. So sometimes you don't want your kids to try to figure out how to solve their problem with a gang. So we have to deal with our own anxiety and make sure that our kids have alternative if we take something away from them. So what I'm trying to say, it is a very complex issue. Most of the videos on YouTube, they give you straightforward advice as if though it's easy. You fail, like I fail, to deal with this problem on my own, so I turn to politicians. They offer me oversimplified solution that probably won't work and to some degree can make things worse. So don't feel bad that you may not be following all of that excellent advice because actually, many people who give this advice, they're kind of too young to have their own kids. And it sounds as if even if they have their own kids, I wonder how much they're actually involved in their care because advice doesn't really sound very realistic. So most important points, every kid is unique. You cannot apply the same rules to every single child. Try to understand your kid, what drives their use, and how would they respond to certain rule changes. Deal with your cell phone use and your anxiety. Try to advocate for politicians, not so much to ban the social media, that also may be a good idea. I'm not arguing against it per se, but what is more important is actually offer what the kids can do, like the alternatives to that. So, and most importantly, improve communication. Ask your kids. They probably understand that they are not supposed to use their cell phone in the middle of the night. And oh, by the way, keep an eye on what we call problematic use. That is when your kid is actually fallen asleep in the middle of the class. So then maybe you actually should take away their phone and see maybe they can sleep well. If they have depressive or anxiety disorder, if because of their mood they cannot go to school or spend time with their friends, maybe they should see a psychiatrist. And if they become violent when you take away their cell phone or social media, that also may be a problem. And I don't think you should give it back to them because that is really a sign of addiction. So you're a parent, I'm a parent, we're on the same boat. So let's try to figure it all out together. If you have any comments and share your experiences, you're welcome to leave your comment at the end. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.